One coming to you again today with another classic movie. Woohoo! And this one happens to be called The Thin Red Line. And now I know that this one movie in particular, especially from people who are watching my videos through that guy with the glasses, you probably would know that some of the Doug Wonka camp don't particularly care for the director of this film, or particularly his style of filmmaking. And this man happens to be by the name of Terrence Malick, who directed this film. And the reason being is because he has a certain style and a certain approach in portraying films and how he grasps the atmosphere and the way he portrays and shoots certain imagery and incorporates it into his movies. Some of those kinds of ways of filmmaking don't appeal always to everybody. So before I go into talking about this movie, I just wanted to make that clear that just because it's a classic movie, and just because I consider it a classic, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be in love with it. Now, I did not love this film, okay? I wasn't like completely, oh my gosh, this film's amazing, blah, 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 blah. No. But at the same time, I appreciate it for what it is. I didn't particularly hate the film at all, or dislike the film. I thought the film was rather good for what it was. I don't think it was super duper amazing spectacular, but for what it was trying to show, I thought it did it in a very beautiful and poetic and philosophical approach. Now, I think that's what you have to understand by Terrence Malick as a director, is that he's a very philosophically oriented director. And apparently he did the screenwriting, too, of this particular film. But point being is that he just has a different way of approaching filmmaking. And that way is not always the way the people like it. And what I also mean by that is that there is a coherent plot in this particular film. You do kind of understand where it's going, and it's not like there's just random images that pop up everywhere and you don't really know what they mean or symbolize. For the most part, I think in this film he does manage to maintain this coherence. And I think he captures like the struggles of war really well. And what I have to say though too is that this film's cinematography, my lord, just beautifully shot. I mean, everything that Terrence Malick does with his shots, he just makes it look so just pretty. Like literally when everything comes out of and put on the screen, it's literally what I see when I like walk down the street, or I walk down in the forest. I see these things and you feel connected to them. And I think he really tries to capture that collective connection that we have with nature. And it's so incorporated so well into this war film that it really grasps a lot of the sort of messages that he's trying to get across with showing the imagery. Now, for the most part, this is a war film, a World War II war film. In particular, in the Pacific, where these soldiers, American soldiers, are sent to an island that they are ordered basically to conquer from Japan. Because if you know your World War II history, you'll know that we pretty much, the way that how we defeated Japan was by hopping from island to island, conquering each island in like the name of America, so that we could push the Japanese back into Japan. That was kind of the whole goal, is that we had all of these separate little islands, and that each island was like a conquering spot, and we would just hop and make sure that we could like just push them back. That was the whole point. So basically America's on the offensive pretty much throughout the Pacific. So for the most part, the way that it's shot is just so gorgeously done, because the island that they are on is very, very pretty. I mean, this island is just like really tall grass, very just tall trees. There's even some native people there who aren't really part of the war, I guess, necessarily, but who's kind of just, live off the land. You get a little bit of that. And it does move rather slow. This film isn't meant to be this fast-paced action war film. It's supposed to move at a more slow pace in order to kind of give you a sense of like the beauty of the area, and then how things kind of get ruined in a sense by all the bombing and by the shooting and all that stuff. And I just like how he kind of captured it in such a really beautiful nature-oriented setting. And I think having it be at an island really allows the director and him to do that. And for the most part, most of the characters aren't really as developed, for the most part, but it does star Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, and Woody Harrelson. And I only say those three names because the last name that is actually on here, he only appears for counting 2 minutes of this entire film, and that's George Clooney. So don't expect going in, if you do happen to rent it or come across it and say, hey, George Clooney's in it. He's only in it for 2 minutes counting. 2 minutes, and it's towards the end of the film. And he just gives a speech. That's it. Like, 2 minutes. Yeah. And then they put him on the back and give him like a little tiny picture. And he was only there for like literally 2 minutes. And everybody else got at least a little bit of decent amount of screen time. But George Clooney only got 2 minutes. 2 minutes and counting. So yes. Also what you have to understand is that Terrence Malick is a kind of director who does things with visuals, okay? He's a very visual director. Not in the sense of Michael Bay, where, like, fake visuals. He likes to capture real visuals. He likes to capture human emotions. And I think he did that really well with, like, showing the Japanese sort of towards the climax, or a certain part of the movie where it kind of leads up to the climax, where the Japanese are losing to the Americans, and you feel like that they're just literally like scrunched up and literally just like so scared and so frightened, and in this sort of really humanistic, animal-like condition where they're just terrified. They're just depressed. They feel like something just literally inside of them, like just literally is just destroyed. And you really get that sense, and he tries to capture the really depressing side of war. This isn't a glorifying war film. This is sort of an anti-war film. I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of putting war on a bad side. You do have a kind of general-like figure as well who appears in the film, and at one point the commander, he asks him, well, like, have you ever seen like somebody die? Because the guy that is above him wants to literally like push everything so that they can get the island and so that they can accomplish the goal. He's concerned about accomplishing the mission, but he doesn't care really about his troops. He doesn't really care about the people. All he cares about is wanting to win, and doesn't really give a second glance as to what these people are going through, because he doesn't really have to do anything. He just shouts orders. And you really see the how the person beneath him is different, because he looks around and he says, we can't do that. This is gonna kill people. Well, obviously war does kill people, but it's not productive. It's not going to do anything. It's basically you're just setting people up to die. It's crazy. Why would you do that? So there's a lot of kind of tension between those two characters in particular, and you'll kind of realize that as that goes on. And I think the acting overall was really well done. Sean Penn, I think, did a decent job. All the other characters kind of sort of embodied just regular soldiers. But again, it's not really the characters that Terrace Malick wants you to remember. It's sort of the thematic stuff. It's the messages that are in this movie that he wants you to remember, not really necessarily the characters. Although you do feel for the characters at times. There was this one guy in particular who they show images of, his memories that he's had. And I think Terrence Malick knows how to capture things like memory really well, and he uses that effectively. And it shows his wife, and how he suddenly feels maybe happier because of these kinds of memories, and you kind of feel like that they really did care for each other. But then he gets a letter later on saying that she's leaving him because she can't take the fact that he's just so far away, been so far away so long. And once a man comes back from war, he's not the same person, because this war literally changes, and can change anybody's life. So she kind of says, yeah, I found somebody else and I'm leaving you. And you do feel like just bad. And even though you don't really know so much about the character, you kind of feel just bad, because these people are just so removed and so away from everything, and in this completely different world. And you want them to go back and be able to come back, but you kind of have a sense towards the ending of the film that they're probably never going to be coming back. Even though maybe they literally survive, they still have those memories there. So I think that was well done, at least from that standpoint. But again, this is a very visual film. You have to understand this. This film doesn't have a lot of dialogue. It does have dialogue, okay? It's not like they're just speaking through like facial expressions. No. They do have dialogue. Dialogue's there, but that's not the big emphasis of this film. This film is trying to emphasize things through real visual stuff. And does it, I think, in a very beautiful way. I personally like more realistic visuals than I do like this fake Transformers, transform into like whatever, that kind of eye candy. I don't really particularly like that eye candy. I prefer real, actual, like live, living things eye candy. Like showing nature, or things that are realistic, things that do actually exist. Like those mountains are actually real, they exist. Or those birds, they're actually real. They're not some computer generated birds. They're real birds. I like those kinds of visuals better than I do fake visuals. For the most part. And that's what I think I really liked most about this film, was just how visual it was and how it tried to capture a lot of different emotions. And another thing that I have to address with Terrence Malick films, and this is the one that I completely watched all the way through. I did hear about Tree of Life, and yeah, I did look up it a little bit. The visuals seem like gorgeous, like amazing visuals, but I just heard that the story and like the message is just so hidden that it's hard for people to really grasp what it's trying to say. So having that being said, it might be way too Terrence Malick-y for my taste. But with this one, I still got a sense of what the message was. I mean, it wasn't like I was completely lost throughout the entire thing and like, what's going on? Why is there this thing here and why is there this thing here? And for the most part, I understood. Okay, this is why they're showing this. This is why they're doing this. And I liked sort of the philosophical questions that he was asking. I liked that he was asking, like, why are we here? Are we really evil? I mean, they are simple questions, but they're questions that sometimes directors don't really, or people who do these kinds of films don't really ask. They don't really ask the bigger picture. They just kind of say, yeah, war is bad, or they just kind of show you more of the history of how a certain war worked. With this, it does not try to get to the history. This could have been in Vietnam. It wouldn't have made any difference. This could have been in any other pretty location, any other pretty other time in war, and it would have been the same effect. The point is that it's philosophical. It's trying to ask you these questions. At one point it asks, like, are we evil? Is it in our nature to be evil? Is it our nature to do these horrible things? And then it asks the opposite, are we loving people? Are we meant to be loving people? Can we love people? These really big sort of philosophical type-esque questions. They're like those questions that you look up at the stars at night and you wonder, where did everything come to be? How does this all work? Why am I here? This film tries to ask that in a war setting. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What's the point? Blah, 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 blah. That's all really these questions are asking. And it doesn't really give you an answer. And that's the whole point, is that you come up with your own answer. You come up with your own understanding as to why you're here, and why these things happen, and why it's, is it within human nature? Is it just, just a part of life? And you really get the sense, though, of how he shows that with the visuals. Because, you look at this world and you say, wow, this world is just so pretty. But this world is also can be so dark. Like things that are so untouched by humans, how pretty they are. And things that, are done in the name of ourselves towards other people, like how that's so different from the way everything else in nature is. So really, it's really trying to hammer down those philosophical questions. If you like philosophy, if you like the whole concept of asking these questions, of, formulating your own ideas, coming up with your own conclusions, if you like those kinds of films, Terrence Malick is probably your kind of director, because he doesn't try to give you this, okay, there's the war story, and yeah, we're going to talk about this character, and this character goes through some struggle, blah, 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 and, this character has, a revelation, or blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't really focus on characters. It mostly focuses on themes and how the characters encompass sort of into that theme. It doesn't try to make you hold on to a particular person, although it does focus more on one particular soldier. But for the most part, it is just one of those philosophically esque type movies. It's not a perfect, 3-stack structure film. Okay, when it's over, you're like, oh, it's over, huh? But the thing is that the fact that it's trying to, ask those questions, the fact that it's trying to bring this up, I think that's what it can be appealing to some people. However, some people are just not going to like it, and they're not going to like how it doesn't have the 3x structure, and it doesn't have, this coherence to it, and they're just going to be mad because it's just kind of random at times. And again, the visuals can be random, but they do have a purpose and significance. It's not like he's showing you something so abstract that you cannot totally get what it means. There are visuals in here where you can understand, oh, okay, we're in somebody's memory now. Oh, okay, we're here. Oh, okay, we're here now. Okay, you can get it. I think with this film, definitely. Tree of Life, probably not, because, again, Tree of Life sounds like it doesn't have anything coherent like a war story. I mean, it's not a war story. It doesn't have anything that's very structured, it seems like. It seems like a lot of the imagery that comes out of Tree of Life is really random. And again, I just watched a little bit of Tree of Life. I didn't sit down and watch the whole thing. I think I just saw basically the trailer and or the different trailers and just heard different reviews on it, and some people just really just loved it, or they just really didn't like it. But the thing is I think people should at least have some respect towards it, okay? You know, it's not perfect. It's not designed to be. Movies aren't designed to be perfect, and not all movies are meant for you, even though they are classic movies. You know, it's kind of like saying, you know, that everybody has to like Citizen Kane. My political science teacher, he literally said that Citizen Kane was the most overrated film that he's ever seen. I'm not kidding you. He said, literally, that film is so overrated. It's just so, it doesn't do anything for me. You know, I think it's an okay film for what it is. I know it's good, but it's not my film. And I think it's what you have to understand with Terrence Malick, okay? You can like him or you cannot like him. It's just sort of that kind of thing. And for me, I personally don't mind it. I don't mind that he tries to do his things his own way and tries to capture something. But, and I'm sorry I'm flipping through this. I guess I'm just being fidgety today. But for the most part, it's an okay film. I mean, it's a good war film. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like all the other war films. And that's what I kind of like about it. It's unique. It's not doing the same thing. It's not giving you the same three-act structure that we have seen over and over again. You know, you maybe want to see something different. And this film offers you something different. It's not the same. And I think that's why a lot of people liked it, and why a lot of people maybe consider it a classic, and why I kind of consider it a classic, because it's different. But that difference is not going to hold on with some people, and they're just not going to like it. But for the most part, I liked it, okay? I'm not going to lie. Does that mean that I'm going to like Tree of Life? I didn't see Tree of Life, and I'm probably not necessarily planning to. I think Tree of Life just sounds too abstract for me. It sounds like the visuals, even though they sound really stunning, and like just cinematography, like, you know, just it's just a pleasure seeker or gold mine when it comes to cinematography. But maybe that's an understatement. But as far as telling something, you know, that kind of makes sense and that goes with what it's saying, probably not. From what I could tell from the trailer, it sounds too abstract. It doesn't have anything that kind of makes it, okay, I can identify what's going on here and what it's about. This movie, I don't think is too abstract. I don't think it's too, you know, like, what's going on, you know, what, you know, some things you may not get the first time, but then once the movie goes forward, you'll go, oh, okay, that was so-and-so with so-and-so, and okay, this is what blah, 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 and it all kind of just ties in together anyway. And I think it captures sort of an essence of that war is kind of random. One minute you're out there in the field, nothing, you know, no idea what's going on. It's completely hectic, And then the next minute you're with a bunch of native people, or you're in a state of peace and solace. And then you go back into the state of war and terror. And this film tries to kind of capture that randomness, instead of trying to capture this 3-act story structure. But I think that's really all I can say about this film. Pretty much, it's a classic, but it's not a classic for everyone. And again, a classic isn't always for everyone. And to be honest, I don't think any classic is going to be always for everyone. Some people are just going to find it appealing and think it's great and magnificent. Others are going to find it completely horrible and complain about it and say whatever they want about it. But for me, I thought it was decent. I thought it had its good parts to it. And I really liked how it was asking these sort of philosophical type-ish questions. And I liked the cinematography. I liked how things were shot, like the angles that he gets. I thought were just really good. Just the whole atmosphere, I just thought was just beautiful. And the way he captured sort of the human condition, I think was just well done. People are just gonna probably complain because it's not, the characters aren't so, well developed. They're sort of a little bit abstract. The story doesn't really flow like 3-act structure. It's not that. It's Terrence Malick. He does it differently. Either you like it or you don't. But for the most part, I can say that I did like it because it was different. I liked the fact that it was different, and I liked that it was trying to do something different. And again, I think the Academy would even agree with me because it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. So yeah. I mean, it's just one of those films. You can have a sense of appreciation for it. I have a sense of appreciation for it. I liked the film. I thought it did a good job of capturing that sadness and that beauty very, very well and very, very nicely. And I think that had a lot to do with the visuals, and I think it had to do, with because the acting is good for the most part, and the action is good as well. So all those things kind of coalesce together, I think, can make a decent film. It doesn't always have to go with that 3-act structure thing. Because again, the 3-act structure gets kind of boring for some people maybe. And if you want to see something that's a little bit different, then The Thin Red Line is probably your kind of movie. So I think that's really all I can say about this, and I know that some people are watching from That Guy with the Glasses. I know y'all gonna be like, oh, you're reviewing a Terrence Malick film. I hate Terrence Malick. He's so abstract, and he doesn't know what he wants to do, and he doesn't want anything. I understand that, okay? I do. I understand your problems, and I understand your concerns. But for me, I'd be lying to you if I said I hated it, because I didn't hate it. I didn't come back hating this film. I did not come out of it going, and I didn't go out going, my God, this is like the best film ever made. No, I don't really think about that of any film. I don't think any film is the greatest film ever. I haven't even seen Citizen Kane, and I can even guarantee you, even if I will see it, I'm not going to say it's the greatest film ever, because everybody has their own little opinion, okay? Everybody has their own little style, alright? And for what it's worth, I think Thin Red Line is just something you can appreciate. Again, not something that everyone's going to like, but something that people can at least appreciate, okay? And for the most part, I appreciate this film and what it's trying to do. It's trying to ask things from more of a philosophical standpoint. Instead of trying to give you a 3-act structure where a character goes through something, or a 3-act structure where that shows you the history, it's trying to show you something different. And I liked that it tried to do that. But, yeah, it's just not for everybody. But I think that's really all I can say about this film. Again, questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. I think overall that's really all I can say about it. The score is also beautiful. Well done score. Really nice choir singings, like the native people singing their choirs was pretty. The intense scenes, really, I think they did well with the score and capturing that. Yeah, it's a decent film. Again, it's not a classic that's for everybody, but it's a classic nonetheless. So I think that's really all I can say about it. But I hope that if it sounds like something up your alley, hopefully you can take it into consideration and watch it. And again, this movie is long, okay? This movie is like 2.5 hours long, so watch it when you're patient, okay? It's like Lord of the Rings, okay? Watch it when you're patient. So, yes, I think that's really all I can say. Any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. Till next time, bye-bye. And I still have no idea what I should do for the Music Talk Tuesday tomorrow, but I think I have an idea. But anyway, bye-bye, everybody.